Hello and welcome to this Come to Jesus Daily devotional. I trust you are well. This week we're looking at John 15 verses 1 to 8 about Jesus being the vine, the Father, the gardener, and this is amazing analogy that we read in John 15. But this week we're particularly thinking about it as it applies to us personally. How is this great command and promise of remaining in the vine to be applied to my life? Yesterday we briefly considered what it meant for Jesus to be the true vine. And today we reflect on the truth that the Father is the gardener. So let's read John 15, 1 to 2. I am the true vine. My Father is the gardener. He cuts off every branch in me that bears no fruit, while every branch that does bear fruit he prunes so that it will be even more fruitful. So today's lesson, what do we learn from this? The Father is judge and sanctifier. He righteously judges and condemns those who are not connected to Jesus, whilst he sanctifies and improves those who are connected to Jesus. Firstly, this is about the united work that the Father, the Son, and the Spirit are doing together. The Son is compared to a life-giving vine. The Father is compared to a gardener. The Spirit's work, although not explicitly mentioned, is implicit in this illustration. The Spirit is the life that flows from Jesus to us, from the vine to the branches. And let's not forget that the context of John chapter 15, it's just followed on from John chapter 14, which is an extensive work on the teaching on the work of the Spirit. So this is about the united work of the Father, Son, and the Spirit. So how is the Father working? That's what we're going to focus on today. How is the Father working? The Father is described as the gardener or the vine dresser in the ESV. The Greek word behind this speaks of being a farmer or a keeper of a vineyard. Jesus is referencing what we read in Isaiah 5, verses 1 to 2. I will sing for the one I love, a song about his vineyard. My loved one had a vineyard on a fertile hillside. He dug it up and cleared it of stones and planted it with the choicest of vines. He built a watchtower in it, cut out a winepress as well. Then he looked for a crop of good grapes, but it yielded only bad fruit. This is about God's unfaithful people, Israel at the time. They were yielding bad fruit of unfaithfulness. But now, in the new covenant era, after the death and resurrection of Jesus, Jesus is promising those who come to him and who remain in him that they will bear good fruit to the glory of God. The Father wants us to bear good fruit. He's actively working to make us fruitful and to increase our yield. His work as the gardener is described in two ways. Firstly, he cuts off dead branches. We're told that he cuts off every branch in me that bears no fruit. So what does this mean? Who are these unfruitful branches? Is Jesus threatening us with the potential of losing our salvation if we're not fruitful enough? Can a living branch become a dead branch that is thrown into the fire, which is clearly a reference to hell? I don't believe that Jesus is teaching that one can lose their salvation. These unfruitful fruitful branches are unfruitful because they're not connected to Christ and therefore cannot be Christians. I believe that he's teaching that there are people who look like living branches. They are wolves in sheep's clothing, to use another analogy that Jesus uses, but are in reality dead branches. So the first work of the Father is he cuts off, he judges those who are dead branches. Secondly, he prunes or cleans fruitful branches. The second aspect of the Father's work is described as, while every branch that does bear fruit, he prunes, so that it will be even more fruitful. Prune, the Greek word, means to prune or to clean. This describes the often painful work that God is doing in us to make us more fruitful. This is the work of sanctification. The Father is working through his word taught, through his word studied, through his discipline of us in many ways, through fellowship. In many other ways, he is working to make us more like Christ. So in response, the Father is judge and sanctifier. He righteously judges and condemns those who are not connected to Jesus, whilst he sanctifies and improves those who are connected to Jesus. Let's apply the analogies of the Father's work of cutting dead branches off and pruning to ourselves personally. Firstly, we have seen that the Father is at work to bring into judgment those who seem to be in Christ but are unfruitful. To apply this personally, we're to ask, am I connected to Jesus? Have I put my faith entirely in him? Am I being fruitful? Do I desire to love God and people? Am I fearful of condemnation? Or am I secure in Jesus' gift of justification and life through the cross? Secondly, the Father is pruning and cleaning us. Are we trusting that in all things God is working for our good to make us more like Jesus? Can we see that if we are to be more fruitful, we must undergo God's loving pruning? God bless you.